Hello, this is Wilson with Pantry Products. Today we're going to be showing you what to do with some of those late season vegetables, namely your carrots and your cabbage. We're going to be dehydrating carrots and making sauerkraut with cabbage. Hopefully you will join us today to do this. So what is a food surplus? Anytime you come into food that you got from your garden, harvested from nature, or you wildcraft, hunting, fishing, or got a really good deal at the store, you now have a surplus. And what you do with that is what we really try to help you here. At the last permaculture conference that we went to, we got a great deal on organic carrots straight from Skeeter's farm, and we will be working with those today. Also, our local Amish store got these beautiful heads of cabbages. We're going to be making sauerkraut out of these today. Okay, first the carrots. So you're just trying to get them on the dehydrator tray in a uniform way. One method would be the old-fashioned way, just setting up your carrot coin slices and then getting them on the tray. And that method will certainly work. Another method that we also like is to use the grater. You can put the grater right on the tray or on the cutting board. Either way is fine. You just generate your shredded carrots. Spread that out, and they will dehydrate just fine, making a really great addition to soups and to casseroles. Another way that I've really found is my favorite thus far is with the Nesco slicer. Carrots come out in uniform slices. They go right on the tray, straight into the dehydrator. So I have a few different choices. I use the shredder, the knife, and the cutting board method, or the Nesco food slicer. You can even use a food processor. Basically, any way you can get the carrots on there in a uniform pattern, they will dry very nicely. As with any dehydrating project, it is a very forgiving process. It's really hard to mess something up when you are dehydrating it. If you like it very, very dry, as I do, you can go lower heat on longer time. If you do not want it as dry, if you plan on using it relatively soon, you can always stop the process whenever you have a finished product that is to your liking. All right, so to make sauerkraut, you're going to need cabbage, and you're going to need to cut it as fine as you possibly can. The old-fashioned method, keeping your fingers out of the way and especially your thumb, would be to slice it as thin as you could possibly get it, and then so that you can process that later into sauerkraut. So the knife and the cutting board is one method. I'm going to show you my favorite method, which is with the Nesco food slicer. The depth adjustment is here in the back. The thinner you can get it, in my opinion, the better sauerkraut you are going to end up with. I'm going to put the head of cabbage I am slicing on the sliding tray, holding it with the food guard and activating the safety switch here. I'm just going to keep on slicing. Okay, so after putting it through the Nesco food slicer, it's going to come out to about this cut. Nice and fine is really how you like it. So from here, all I'm going to use is salt without iodine, table salt without iodine, canning salt, or pickling salt. Any of those will work for you. So I'm just going to take the cabbage in the bowl, add salt, and then just start to mix. Adding more salt. Mix. And some of the water is going to start to extract out of the cabbage. It will feel very, very wet at this point. Now, as the cabbage sits in the jar that you put it in and starts to ferment, it will form probiotics, which is very good for your gut. And just add more cabbage, add more salt, mix to taste. So, how much salt should you put in it so you like the way that it tastes? Yep. You're gonna see it. You see it start to get very wet, which is good. Now the recipe for this, I call it Scooter's sauerkraut, because I usually make this with my son Scooter, and he helps me. And if it is simple enough to where he can do it and get the recipe named after him, there's nothing to be scared about. So this is starting to feel really wet. I'm going to start to mix it just a couple minutes longer. That's good. Alright, starting out with everything clean and ready for you is really going to speed up the process, and not that the sauerkraut process is very intensive to begin with. So as you see, we're mixing it up. We have quite a bit of water starting to pool down here. That is really good. That is the salt extracting the water out of it. And as it ferments, again, you're going to get the probiotics and all that stuff. It's perfectly normal for a finished jar to sit on the shelf and to have some weeping after the fact. So I would recommend putting a towel on it or some kind of pan. So if you do get some of that moisture coming out, you're not going to ruin any kind of nice wood shelf. So let's talk about canning lids for a second. You can use the metal lids, but the only lids we use now are the Tattler reusable lids. Because they are BPA free, made in Colorado. They are the best lids we have found. But for the sauerkraut process, because you have such a high sodium content in there, the metal lids will rust over time, whereas the Tattler lids won't. It would be ideal here at this point to have a canning funnel. I'm going to improvise and just simply pack the sauerkraut or the salted wrung out cabbage starter in there. Get a nice good firm pack down in there, and it's gonna shape up really nicely here in the jar. You will see some bubbling and some activity like that through the glass. That is perfectly fine and quite normal. And I'm going to leave a pretty good headspace here. I don't want to pack it so tight that as that starts to ferment, now I have something under pressure. So if I open it, it's going to come out through the top of the opening. All right, wipe off that rim. Put on my Tattler lid. Ring goes on finger tight. Now wipe off the outside of the jar. Put it on my shelf. 2 to 3 weeks later, I have a jar of sauerkraut, and this will keep all winter long without a problem, and they'll also give you a great source of vitamin C. Try it with sausage and potatoes, applesauce. That is a very good mixture on a cold winter night. This is Wilson with Pantry Practice. Thank you.